Marcus Wilson threw his pregnant wife out for his younger lover, completely unaware that Tasha Bennett had just inherited $18 million from her late grandfather. The morning he demanded divorce, tossing her belongings onto their manicured Atlanta lawn, while his mistress Jennifer watched from their bedroom window, would become the most expensive mistake of his life. If you're watching this story unfold, comment your city below. I'd love to know how far these tales of betrayal and redemption have traveled. Now let me tell you how one woman's darkest hour became her greatest triumph. The October sun cast long shadows across Peachtree Street as Tasha Bennett stirred her morning tea, one hand resting protectively on her 6-month baby bump. The kitchen of their colonial home, the one they'd bought together 3 years ago with such hope, felt unusually cold, despite the Georgia warmth seeping through the windows. She'd been awake since 4, unable to shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. Marcus hadn't come home until past midnight again. The 3rd time this week. His explanation about quarterly reports and late meetings had grown thin, but Tasha pushed down her suspicions. They were having a baby. Their first child. Surely that meant something. We need to talk. Marcus's voice cut through the morning quiet like a blade. He stood in the doorway, still wearing yesterday's shirt, though it was wrinkled now and missing a button. His wedding ring, the one she'd saved 6 months to buy, was absent from his finger. Marcus? Tasha set down her cup, ceramic clicking against granite. What's wrong? Is everything okay at work? He laughed, but it was bitter foreign. This wasn't the man who'd danced with her in this very kitchen just months ago, whispering names for their unborn child. Work's fine. Better than fine, actually. He moved into the room but kept the island between them as if she were contagious. Jennifer got promoted. We're restructuring the entire department. Jennifer Parker. The name sat heavy in the air. The new analyst with the MBA from Wharton and skirts that rode just a little too high. The one who always seemed to need Marcus's help with projects that kept him late at the office. That's good, Tasha managed, though her throat felt tight. Marcus, what's really going on? He pulled out his phone, not meeting her eyes. I've already called my lawyer. The papers will be ready by end of week. The words didn't make sense at first. They floated in the space between them like puzzle pieces that wouldn't fit together. Papers. Lawyer. End of week. Divorce papers, he clarified as if she were slow. I want a divorce, Tasha. The floor seemed to tilt. She gripped the counter knuckles white against dark granite. You're joking. This is some kind of sick joke. I'm deadly serious, deadly. His jaw set in that stubborn way she once found endearing. It's over. Has been for months, if I'm honest. Months. Her voice cracked. I'm 6 months pregnant with your child, Marcus. 6 months. I know exactly how pregnant you are. His tone was clinical, detached. The timing is unfortunate, but waiting won't make this easier. Tasha's hand flew to her stomach, where their daughter they'd just learned it was a girl. 2 weeks ago, kicked as if sensing distress. Unfortunate. That's what you call this. What do you want me to say? Marcus slammed his hand on the counter, making her jump. That I'm happy, that I want to play house while I'm dying inside. I'm 35 years old, Tasha. I've got my whole life ahead of me. And I don't... The tears came now hot and unwanted. We planned this baby together. You cried when we saw the ultrasound. You said she looked like me. People say a lot of things. He turned away, staring out the window at their neighbor's perfect lawn. Look, I'll pay child support. Whatever the court decides. But this us, it's done. The doorbell rang, shattering the moment. Marcus practically sprinted to answer it, leaving Tasha trembling in the kitchen. She heard voices, multiple voices, and forced herself to move to follow the sound. 3 men in matching uniforms stood in her foyer, dollies and boxes at the ready. "Morning, ma'am," one nodded. "We're here for the packing." "Packing." She looked at Marcus, who was signing something on a clipboard. "What packing?" "Your things," Marcus said simply. "I've hired movers. They'll pack everything and take it, wherever you decide to go." The room spun. "You're throwing me out of my own home." "My name's on the deed, Tasha. I bought this house. With our money." The words ripped from her throat. "I work too, Marcus. I've paid half of everything for 3 years. Your part-time consulting barely covers groceries." The contempt in his voice was new sharp. "I've been carrying us financially since day one." It was a lie. Such a breathtaking lie that Tasha couldn't form words. She'd scaled back her hours when morning sickness hit hard, yes, but before that she'd matched him dollar for dollar, paid for their honeymoon, covered the down payment when his credit wasn't quite enough. "Sir," one of the movers shifted uncomfortably. "Should we start upstairs?" "Yes," Marcus nodded. "Master bedroom closet right side. Everything on that side goes." They filed past Tasha like she was furniture disappearing up the stairs she'd climbed 1,000 times. Their footsteps echoed above strangers handling her clothes, her jewelry box, the pregnancy books she'd been reading. "This is illegal," she whispered. "You can't just throw me out." "I'm not throwing you out." Marcus's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, smiled slightly. "I'm helping you transition. You can stay with your friend. What's her name, Brianna? She's always saying her apartment's too big for one person." "You planned this." The realization hit like cold water. "You've been planning this." "I've been thinking about what's best for everyone." He pocketed his phone. "Jennifer understands me, Tasha. She pushes me to be better. She doesn't just want to nest and talk about baby names and organic food." Jennifer. There it was. "You're leaving me for her." It wasn't a question. Marcus had the decency to look away. "It's not about her." "How long does it matter?" "How long?" Marcus told. 4 months. 4 months. While she was throwing up every morning, terrified something was wrong with the baby. While she was picking out cribs and reading about developmental milestones. While she was turning down a promotion because they'd agreed one parent should have flexibility when the baby came. "Get out," she said quietly. "This is my house. Get out." The scream tore from somewhere deep primal. "Get out right now, or I swear to God, Marcus, I will make sure everyone at your firm knows exactly what kind of man you are." He actually stepped back. "You're being hysterical. I'm being divorced while pregnant by a man having an affair. I think I'm entitled to some hysteria." The movers appeared at the top of the stairs, boxes in hand, frozen by the scene below. "Just put everything on the lawn," Marcus told them, his voice steady again. "She'll figure out transportation." "The lawn?" Tasha stared at him. "You're putting my things on the lawn like trash. Don't be dramatic. It's not supposed to rain until Thursday." Thursday. 3 days away. The next hour passed in a blur of humiliation. Neighbors pretending not to watch from behind curtains as box after box appeared on the pristine grass Marcus obsessed over. Mrs. Henderson from across the street actually came out with her coffee, not even pretending to get the mail, just watching like it was a reality show. Tasha stood on the porch, arms wrapped around herself as her life was systematically removed from the house she'd called home. The wedding china her grandmother had given them. The quilts she'd been making for the baby. Photo albums, books, clothes. "That's the last of it from upstairs," one mover announced, not meeting her eyes. Marcus appeared with papers, actual papers, like he'd had them ready and waiting. This is a preliminary agreement. Just something to make the separation official while the lawyers work out details. She didn't take them. Couldn't make her hands move. He set them on top of a box. Jennifer will be here soon. It would be better if you were gone when she arrives. She's coming here today. She's moving in. He said it so casually, like mentioning the weather. No point in paying 2 rents. The cruelty of it stole her breath. The calculation. He'd planned every detail, choreographed her humiliation down to the minute. A silver BMW pulled into the driveway, their driveway. Jennifer Parker stepped out in a sundress that probably cost more than Tasha made in a week, her blonde hair perfect, despite the humidity that was already making Tasha's curls frizz. "Oh," Jennifer said, her voice pitched high with false surprise. "Tasha, I didn't realize you'd still be here." Still be here. In front of her own home. Surrounded by her belongings scattered across the lawn like a yard sale. "Hello, Jennifer." Tasha was proud of how steady her voice sounded. Jennifer's eyes dropped to Tasha's belly, obvious now, in the fitted t-shirt she'd thrown on that morning. Something flickered across her face, surprise calculation. It was gone before Tasha could identify it. "Marcus." Jennifer's voice turned sweet, possessive. "I brought coffee. Your favorite from that place downtown." She held up a carrier with 2 cups. 2. As if Tasha had already ceased to exist. "Thanks, babe." Marcus took one, kissed Jennifer's cheek in full view of the neighbors, of Tasha, of God, and everyone. "The movers are almost done." Tasha's phone rang. Brianna's name flashed on the screen. "Girl, what is going on? Keisha just called me saying there's moving trucks at your house and Marcus is on the lawn with some blonde. Can you come get me?" Tasha's voice broke. "Please, I can't. I'm already in my car. 10 minutes. Those were the longest 10 minutes of Tasha's life. Standing on the lawn, she'd helped seed and water, watching Jennifer direct the movers to be careful with her boxes as they carried them inside. Her boxes, into Tasha's home. Marcus signed something, handed the movers cash, shook hands. Normal. Like this was all perfectly normal. "The utilities are in my name," he told Tasha, not looking at her. "I'll keep them on for another month, give you time to set up your own accounts wherever you land." Wherever she landed, like she was a bird that had flown into a window. 6 years, she said quietly. "We were together 6 years. People change." He shrugged. "We want different things. I want the family we planned, the life we built. What exactly do you want that's so different?" He looked at her, then really looked at her. And for a moment, she saw something, regret, doubt, but then Jennifer called his name from the doorway, and his face hardened. "I want someone who excites me, who challenges me, who makes me feel alive." Each word was a deliberate wound. Not someone who's content with mediocrity. Mediocrity. The word would echo in her head for days. Brianna's Honda screeched around the corner, pulling up half on the curb in her haste. She was out of the car before it fully stopped, her nurse scrubs from her night shift still on her face, murderous. "Are you out of your damn mind?" She stalked toward Marcus, finger pointed like a weapon. "She's pregnant." "Brianna, please," Tasha started. No, somebody needs to say this." Brianna got in Marcus's face, all 5'2" of her vibrating with rage. "You are trash, absolute trash. And when that bottle blonde realizes you'll do the same to her, don't come crying back." Jennifer appeared beside Marcus, slipping her arm through his. "I think you should leave now." "Oh, honey." Brianna laughed, but it was sharp, dangerous. "I'm not talking to you. You're not worth my breath. But know this what you're doing. Moving into another woman's home while she stands on the lawn pregnant. That's some bottom feeder behavior. We should go. Tasha pulled at Brianna's arm. Please. They loaded what they could into Brianna's small car. Clothes, mostly some personal items. The rest would have to wait. As they drove away, Tasha looked back to see Marcus and Jennifer standing in the doorway she'd painted yellow just last spring, because it seemed cheerful, welcoming. Jennifer was already rehanging something on the wall. Don't look back, Brianna said fiercely. Don't give him the satisfaction. But Tasha couldn't help it. That was her life disappearing in the rearview mirror. 6 years of memories, of dreams, of plans for a future that would never exist. Where to? Brianna asked gently. I don't know. Tasha's hand found her belly again. The baby kicked strong and insistent. I honestly don't know. They drove in silence for a while, Brianna navigating Atlanta traffic with the aggressive confidence of a native. Finally, she pulled into a Waffle House parking lot. What are we doing? We're eating, Brianna announced. You're pregnant, you're in shock, and you need food. Plus, Waffle House solves everything. I can't eat. You can and you will. That baby needs nutrition, even if her daddy is a piece of garbage. They found a booth in the back. The vinyl was cracked, the table slightly sticky despite recent cleaning, and the fluorescent lights hummed overhead. It was perfect in its imperfection, real in a way her morning had stopped being. Talk to me, Brianna said after ordering for both of them. What happened yesterday? You were texting me about nursery colors. So Tasha told her. Every word Marcus had said, every cruel detail. Jennifer's arrival, the boxes on the lawn. By the time she finished, their food had arrived and gone cold. I'm calling Jerome, Brianna announced, pulling out her phone. My cousin, the lawyer. Remember, he does family law. I can't afford a lawyer. Girl, stop. He owes me. I helped his trifling ass pass the bar. He'll work out payments. While Brianna made calls, Tasha picked at her hash browns and tried to process the last 3 hours. This morning, she'd been a married woman planning for her first child. Now she was homeless, humiliated, and heading for single motherhood. Her phone buzzed. Marcus had sent a text, "Your things are on the lawn. Arrange pickup by tomorrow or they'll be donated." Tomorrow. He was giving her 1 day to collect her life from his grass. Another text from a number she didn't recognize. Hi Tasha, this is Jennifer. I wanted to reach out woman to woman. I know this is difficult, but Marcus and I are truly in love. I hope someday you can understand and even be happy for us. Perhaps we can all be friends for the baby's sake. Tasha actually laughed. It was hollow, borderline hysterical, but it was laughter. Friends. Jennifer wanted to be friends. What's funny? Brianna slid back into the booth. Tasha showed her the text. Brianna's expression went from disbelief to rage to something like awe. The audacity, she breathed. The sheer, unmitigated audacity. She's in my house, Bree, sleeping in my bed, using my kitchen, and she wants to be friends. Block her. Block him too, except for emergency contact about the baby. I can't block him. We have to work out custody support, everything. Jerome will handle that. He says he can see you tomorrow morning. Brianna reached across the table, grabbed Tasha's hands. You're going to be okay. You hear me? You and that baby are going to be more than okay. I don't have anywhere to live. You'll stay with me. Bree, you have a studio apartment. So, we'll make it work. I'll sleep on the couch. You can't sleep on your couch for 3 months until the baby comes. Watch me. The tears came then, not from sadness, but from the fierce love of a friend who'd drop everything to help. Tasha squeezed Brianna's hands, unable to speak. "Now," Brianna said, signaling for more coffee. "We need a plan. First, we get your stuff off that lawn. I'm calling Tommy and DeAndre, they have trucks. Then we figure out housing. Then we destroy Marcus in court." "I don't want to destroy him. I just want what's fair." "Fair," Brianna snorted. "Baby fair went out the window when he threw his pregnant wife out for his side piece. Now we're going for justice." They spent the next 2 hours in that booth making lists and phone calls. Brianna's network came through within the afternoon. They had 3 trucks and 6 people ready to collect Tasha's belongings. A storage unit was located and rented. Jerome cleared his morning schedule. As they prepared to leave, Tasha's phone rang. Her mother's number flashed on the screen. Of course. News traveled fast in Atlanta, especially bad news. "Mama, Natasha. Elizabeth Bennett, is it true? Her full name. Never a good sign. Is what true, that Marcus put you out, that you're pregnant, and he put you out for some white woman? How did you—" "Deborah Henderson called me. Said she saw the whole thing. Boxes on the lawn like some kind of eviction." "Mrs. Henderson. Of course." "It's true, Mama." Silence. Then, "That boy is dead to me. Dead. Your father would have killed him. Lord rest his soul, but your daddy would have handled this different." "Mama, please don't. I'm coming to Atlanta." "No, Mama, no. I'm okay. Brianna's with me." "You're 6 months pregnant and homeless. You are not okay." "I'm handling it." "Like hell you are. I'll be there by evening." The line went dead. Tasha stared at her phone. "Your mama," Brianna guessed. "She's coming." "Lord help us all." They both knew what that meant. Vivian Bennett was a force of nature on a calm day. When one of her children was hurt, Hurricane Vivian was about to make landfall in Atlanta. "We should warn Marcus," Brianna said, then shook her head. "Nah, let him be surprised." Despite everything, Tasha almost felt sorry for him. Almost. They drove back toward the former house, to supervise the removal of Tasha's belongings. The trucks were already there when they arrived, Brianna's friends loading boxes with impressive efficiency. Marcus stood on the porch, arms crossed, watching like a supervisor. Jennifer was nowhere to be seen. 2 hours, he called out. Then anything left gets tossed. We'll be done in one, DeAndre shot back, hefting a box labeled winter clothes with ease. Some of us actually work for a living. Marcus's face reddened, but he said nothing, retreating inside. Tasha stood by Brianna's car, unable to make herself get closer to the house. Each box that passed was a piece of her life being excised, removed like a tumor from Marcus's perfect existence. "You okay?" Tommy asked, pausing beside her with a box of books. "No," she answered honestly, "but I will be." "My sister went through something similar," he offered. "Husband left her with 3 kids for his secretary. Classic bullshit. But you know what? 2 years later, she's married to a man who worships the ground she walks on. Has his own construction company. Treats those kids like they're his own. That's nice." Tasha managed, though she couldn't imagine loving anyone else. Couldn't imagine trusting anyone enough to try. "I'm just saying, this feels like the end, but maybe it's actually the beginning." He moved on, leaving Tasha with that thought. A beginning. Was that possible? Could something good come from this devastation? Her phone buzzed. An email, this time from an address she didn't recognize. She almost deleted it as spam, but the subject line caught her attention. Regarding the estate of Harold Bennett. Harold Bennett, her grandfather. He'd passed 2 months ago, quiet and dignified even at the end. She'd been too sick with morning sickness to attend the funeral in Chicago, something that still ate at her. She opened the email. Dear Mrs. Wilson, I am writing to inform you of a significant development regarding your grandfather's estate. As per his revised will dated 6 months before his passing, you have been named sole beneficiary of a substantial inheritance. The estate's total value, including liquid assets, properties, and investments, is approximately $18 million. I understand this may come as a shock. Your grandfather specifically requested this information be withheld until after his funeral to, in his words, see who showed up for love not money. Please contact my office at your earliest convenience to arrange the transfer of assets. Sincerely, Robert Thornton, Esquire, Thornton and Associates. Tasha read it 3 times before the words sank in. $18 million. It wasn't possible. Her grandfather had been comfortable, yes, but not wealthy. Not $18 million wealthy. Bree. She called, her voice strange. Bree, come here. Brianna jogged over, took one look at Tasha's face and grabbed her arms. What's wrong? Is it the baby? Wordlessly, Tasha handed her the phone. Brianna read, her eyes getting progressively wider. Is this real? I don't know. Girl. Brianna was actually bouncing. If this is real, it can't be real. Call right now. With shaking fingers, Tasha dialed the number at the bottom of the email. A professional voice answered on the second ring. Thornton and Associates, how may I direct your call? Yes, I need to speak with Robert Thornton about Harold Bennett's estate. May I have your name? Tasha Bennett. I mean Wilson. Tasha Bennett Wilson. One moment, Mrs. Wilson. Hold music played, classical, soothing. Tasha's heart hammered against her ribs. Mrs. Wilson. A man's voice, warm and paternal. I'm so glad you called. I've been trying to reach you for weeks. This is real, he chuckled. Very real. Your grandfather was quite successful in his investments. He also sold several patents for medical devices he'd developed over the years. He lived modestly by choice, not necessity. I don't understand. Why me? He had other grandchildren. You were the only one who called him every Sunday without fail. The only one who invited him for holidays, even when he couldn't come. He kept every card you sent, Mrs. Wilson, every single one. The tears came freely now. She'd loved her grandfather fiercely, had called him even when Marcus complained about her Sunday conversations taking too long. There are some conditions, Mr. Thornton continued. The money is held in trust. You'll receive an initial disbursement of $2 million immediately, then $500 or $1,000 annually, with the remainder becoming available when you turn 40, or at my discretion if circumstances warrant earlier release. $2 million immediately, within 48 hours of signing the paperwork, yes. Tasha's knees nearly buckled. Brianna caught her, guided her to sit on the curb. Mrs. Wilson, are you still there? Yes, I'm here. This is a lot. I understand. Can you come to my office tomorrow? I'm in Atlanta, actually. Your grandfather asked me to handle this personally. Tomorrow, yes. What time? How's 2 p.m.? That gives you time to review everything with your own attorney if you'd like. 2 is perfect. She hung up, stared at Brianna. Tell me everything, Brianna demanded. Tasha did, watching Brianna's expression shift from disbelief to joy to something like vengeance. Oh, this is perfect, Brianna breathed. Marcus threw you out thinking you were helpless, thinking you needed him, and you're about to be worth more than he'll make in 3 lifetimes. I can't think about Marcus right now. Fine, then think about this. You can buy your own house. Better than this one. You can hire the best divorce attorney in Atlanta. You can raise that baby without worrying about money ever again. A house. Security. Freedom from Marcus's financial control. It was overwhelming. Don't tell anyone, Tasha said suddenly. Not yet. I need to make sure it's real first. My lips are sealed. But Tasha, this is real. This is your grandfather looking out for you from beyond. DeAndre called out that they were done loading. Everything was off the lawn, packed in trucks, ready for storage. The grass showed indentations where boxes had sat, but otherwise there was no trace of Tasha's presence. Marcus emerged as they prepared to leave. That's everything. Don't contact me except through lawyers. Wasn't planning on it, Tasha replied, standing with Brianna's help. He looked at her, really looked at her, and for a moment something crossed his face. The baby chose that moment to kick visible even through Tasha's shirt. Marcus's eyes tracked the movement. It's a girl, Tasha said softly. In case you care. I know. His voice was rough. Jennifer thinks we should name her Sophia. The cruelty of it, Jennifer choosing names for Tasha's baby, was breathtaking. Her name is Hope, Tasha said firmly. Hope Vivian Bennett. Wilson, Marcus corrected. Hope Wilson. No, Tasha lifted her chin. Bennett, Hope Bennett. Your choice to leave means you don't get to mark her with your name. We'll see what the courts say about that. Yes. Tasha smiled, thinking of 18 million reasons the courts would side with her. We will. She turned to go, then stopped. Marcus, I need you to know something. He waited impatient. I loved you. Really, truly loved you. I would have spent my whole life trying to make you happy. That girl you're throwing away, she would have been the best thing that ever happened to you. Someday, probably sooner than you think, you're going to realize what you lost. And when that day comes, when Jennifer shows you exactly who she is, remember this moment. Remember that you had everything and threw it away for someone who was willing to be the other woman. She walked away, then Brianna beside her, leaving Marcus standing in the driveway of the house that no longer felt like home. That was beautiful, Brianna said as they drove away. Also savage. I meant every word. They spent the rest of the day organizing storage, dealing with logistics, preparing for tomorrow's meetings with both lawyers. Tasha's mother arrived at 7, sweeping into Brianna's apartment like an avenging angel. Where is he? Were her first words. Mama, please. Don't Mama please me. That boy needs to understand what he's done. He understands. He doesn't care. Vivian Bennett studied her daughter, then pulled her into a fierce hug. Then he's a fool, and we don't waste tears on fools. They ordered Chinese food, sat on Brianna's small couch, and planned. Vivian had brought money, not much, but enough to help with immediate expenses. She'd also brought baby clothes apparently bought during the drive from Birmingham. You knew I was having a girl. Marcus's mother called me last month. Wanted to plan a baby shower. Vivian snorted. Bet that's not happening now. You talked to Patricia. Past tense. That woman is dead to me too. Any mother who raised a son capable of this failed somewhere fundamental. As the evening wore on, Tasha felt something shift inside her. The acute pain of the morning was morphing into something else, determination maybe, or just exhaustion. But sitting there, surrounded by the women who loved her, feeling her daughter Humalsa's inside her, she thought maybe Tommy had been right. Maybe this was a beginning. Her phone buzzed with another text from Marcus. The locks have been changed. Don't try to come by. She deleted it without responding. Then on impulse, she pulled up Jennifer's text from earlier and typed a response. Jennifer, woman to woman. You're sleeping with a man who threw out his pregnant wife. If he'll do it to me, he'll do it to you. Good luck with that. As for being friends, I'd rather befriend a snake. At least with a snake, you know what you're getting." She hit send before she could change her mind. "What did you just do?" Brianna asked, seeing her expression. Tasha showed her the phone. Brianna whooped with laughter, and even Vivian cracked a smile. "That's my girl," her mother said. "Bennett women don't break. We rebuild." As night fell over Atlanta, Tasha lay on Brianna's couch, hand on her belly, thinking about the day. This morning she'd had a husband, a home, a certain future. Tonight, she had none of those things. But she had her daughter. She had her friends. She had her family. And unknown to anyone but Brianna, she had $18 million waiting to transform her life. Marcus Wilson had made his choice. He'd chosen Jennifer, chosen what he thought was excitement and success, and a life without the burden of fatherhood. Tomorrow Tasha would begin choosing too. Choosing her daughter. Choosing her future. Choosing to rise from the ashes of her marriage like a phoenix. The baby kicked again, strong and insistent. "I know, sweet girl," Tasha whispered. "I know. Everything just changed. But you know what? Maybe that's not the worst thing. Maybe Daddy leaving is the universe making room for something better." She closed her eyes, exhausted, but unable to sleep. Tomorrow she'd meet with lawyers, sign papers, begin the process of rebuilding. But tonight, she allowed herself to grieve not just for her marriage, but for the man Marcus used to be. The one who'd cried at their wedding. Who'd stayed up all night when she had food poisoning. Who'd painted the nursery yellow because it would make the baby happy. That man was gone if he'd ever really existed. In his place was a stranger who could throw away his family like yesterday's newspaper. The irony wasn't lost on her. Marcus thought he was upgrading trading in his pregnant wife for a younger, ambitious woman who wore designer clothes and had an MBA. He had no idea he'd just discarded a fortune. Not just the money, though, that would sting when he found out. But the love Tasha had offered. The loyalty. The family they could have built. The daughter who would have adored him. His loss. Their gain. The city hummed outside Brianna's window. Atlanta never truly slept, and neither would Tasha tonight. But that was okay. She had planning to do. A future to build. A daughter to protect. And starting tomorrow, she had the means to do it all. Marcus Wilson had thrown her out like trash. He had no idea he'd just set her free. The law offices of Jerome Washington sat on the 14th floor of a gleaming Buckhead tower, all glass and steel and intimidating success. Tasha's hands trembled as she signed the visitor log, her mother and Brianna flanking her like bodyguards. The security guard barely glanced up, but Tasha felt exposed as if her humiliation from yesterday was written across her face. "Stop fidgeting," Vivian commanded, adjusting Tasha's collar with practiced efficiency. "You walk in there like you own the place." "I was thrown out of my home yesterday, Mama. On the lawn. Everyone saw. And today you're fighting back. Chin up." The elevator ride seemed endless. Tasha caught her reflection in the polished doors, tired eyes, hair pulled back in a simple ponytail, the maternity dress Brianna had lent her, hanging loose on her frame. She looked exactly like what she was, a discarded pregnant wife. The thought made her straighten her spine. Jerome Washington wasn't what she expected. Where she'd imagined a slick shark in an expensive suit, she found a comfortable-looking man in his 40s with kind eyes and pictures of his own children covering his desk. "Brianna's told me everything," he said after introductions, his voice carrying a hint of Alabama. "What your husband did yesterday was not just cruel, it was potentially illegal. Georgia has very specific laws about marital property and eviction. He said his name was on the deed. Doesn't matter. You're married, you've been living there, you've been contributing to the household. He can't just throw you out, especially while you're pregnant with his child. Jerome pulled out a legal pad, began making notes. First things first, we're filing an emergency motion today. Get you back in that house if you want it. I don't, Tasha said quickly. I can't go back there, not with her. Understandable. Then we focus on the assets. Tell me about your financial situation. Tasha hesitated. She hadn't told Jerome about the inheritance yet, wasn't sure if she should. Brianna caught her eye, nodded slightly. There's been a development, Tasha said carefully. My grandfather passed 2 months ago. I just found out yesterday that I've inherited a substantial amount. Jerome's pen stilled. How substantial? $18 million. The office went silent, except for the distant hum of Atlanta traffic 14 floors below. Jerome set down his pen, leaned back in his chair, and a slow smile spread across his face. Well now, he said softly, that changes everything. Your husband doesn't know about this. No, I just found out yesterday after he'd already thrown me out. Perfect. The word came out almost gleeful. Georgia is an equitable distribution state, which means marital property is divided fairly, not necessarily equally. But inheritances are typically considered separate property, especially if they're kept separate from marital funds. So Marcus can't touch it. Not a penny as long as we handle this correctly. But here's where it gets interesting. He's been the primary breadwinner. Yes. Probably planning to use that against you in court. He said I barely contributed, that my consulting work barely covered groceries. Jerome actually laughed. And now you're worth $18 million while he's pulling down maybe $200,000 a year at best. Oh, this is beautiful. We're going to destroy him. I don't want to destroy him. Tasha protested the same thing she'd said to Brianna. I just want what's fair for my daughter. What's fair is making sure a man who throws his pregnant wife onto the lawn faces consequences, Vivian interjected. Don't you dare go soft now, Natasha. Jerome spent the next hour walking them through the process. Filing for divorce, temporary support orders, custody arrangements. The inheritance would remain separate, protected, but its existence would certainly influence negotiations. He's going to lose his mind when he finds out, Jerome said, with obvious satisfaction. Men like him, they think they hold all the cards. Finding out their discarded wife is secretly wealthy, it's going to eat him alive. At 2 o'clock, Tasha sat in another office, this one belonging to Robert Thornton, her grandfather's attorney. Where Jerome's office had been modern and sleek, Thornton's was all old money elegance, leather-bound books, oriental rugs, photographs of Thornton with various dignitaries. Your grandfather was a remarkable man, Thornton said, sliding papers across his mahogany desk. He held 17 patents. Did you know that medical devices that have saved thousands of lives? I knew he tinkered, Tasha said, remembering her grandfather's cluttered workshop. I didn't know it was that serious. He never talked about it, said humility was the mark of true success. Thornton smiled warmly. He talked about you constantly, though. Every Sunday call he'd tell me what you discussed. Your pregnancy made him so happy. He said knowing you'd be a mother gave him peace about leaving. The tears came without warning. Her grandfather would have stood by her through this divorce, would have probably shown up at Marcus's door with the kind of quiet rage that made grown men reconsider their choices. The trust is structured to protect you, Thornton continued, pretending not to notice her tears. The immediate disbursement should be in your account by Thursday. I'll need you to set up a new account separate from anything you shared with your husband. Marcus handles all our banking. Not anymore. From now on, you handle your own finances. This is your money, your future, your choice. Your choice. The words echoed as Tasha signed paper after paper, making herself the sole beneficiary of a fortune she still couldn't quite comprehend. By the time she left Thornton's office, the sun was starting to set, painting Atlanta's skyline in shades of gold and amber. "How you feeling?" Brianna asked as they walked to the car. "Like I'm in someone else's life," Tasha admitted. "Yesterday I was begging Marcus not to leave. Today I'm signing papers for $18 million. The Lord works in mysterious ways," Vivian said firmly. "Your grandfather's timing wasn't coincidence. This is divine intervention." Tasha's phone buzzed. Marcus's mother, Patricia, was calling. She almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. "Tasha." "Oh, thank God. I just heard what happened. I'm mortified. Absolutely mortified." "Hello, Patricia. That boy has lost his damn mind. Throwing you out. While you're carrying my granddaughter, I didn't raise him like this." "Apparently you did," Tasha said, surprising herself with the venom in her voice. Patricia was quiet for a moment. "I suppose I deserve that. Listen, I'm at the house now. I'm giving Marcus a piece of my mind. That Jennifer person is here too, prancing around like she owns the place. It's disgusting." "Why are you calling me Patricia?" "Because you're family. You're carrying my granddaughter. That doesn't change just because my son is an idiot." A pause. "Also, I wanted you to know I'm cutting him off. No more family dinners, no more anything until he comes to his senses." "He's not going to come to his senses." "Then he's lost more than just you. He's lost his mother too." After Patricia hung up, Tasha felt a small spark of satisfaction. Marcus valued his mother's opinion above almost everything. Losing her approval would sting. They returned to Brianna's apartment to find it transformed. DeAndre and Tommy had moved furniture, creating a small private space for Tasha, with a curtain partition. Someone, probably Brianna's neighbor, Mrs. Chen, had left a home-cooked meal on the doorstep with a note, "For the mama-to-be, stay strong." "People are good," Brianna said, heating up the food. "Remember that when everything feels dark, people are mostly good." That evening, as they ate Mrs. Chen's dumplings and watched the news, Tasha's phone lit up with notifications. Marcus had posted on Instagram a photo of him and Jennifer at the restaurant, where he'd proposed to Tasha raising champagne glasses. The caption read, "New beginnings with my soulmate. Sometimes you have to break free from what's comfortable to find what's extraordinary." "Oh, hell no!" Brianna grabbed for the phone, but Tasha held it back. "Let him," she said quietly. "Let everyone see who he really is." The comments were already pouring in, and they weren't what Marcus had expected. Former colleagues, friends from college, people from their neighborhood, most were shocked, asking about Tasha, about the baby. A few brave souls called him out directly. "Isn't your wife pregnant?" one person wrote. "This is how you announce your affair," wrote another. Marcus was deleting comments in real time, but they came faster than he could remove them. Finally, the post disappeared entirely. "He thought people would congratulate him," Tasha said, almost pitying him. "He really thought he'd be the hero of this story." "Narcissists always do," Vivian said darkly. That night, unable to sleep again, Tasha found herself Googling Jennifer Parker. 28 years old, Wharton MBA, originally from Connecticut. Her LinkedIn was full of corporate buzzwords and achievement posts. Her Instagram was carefully curated workout selfies, inspirational quotes, photos from business conferences, and starting 4 months ago, subtle pictures that Tasha now recognized as being taken in places Marcus frequented. The hotel bar where his company held meetings, the coffee shop near his office. Jennifer had been documenting their affair without quite admitting to it. One photo made Tasha's blood run cold. It was from 2 months ago when Tasha had been hospitalized with severe morning sickness. A selfie of Jennifer at a restaurant, champagne glass raised with someone's hand visible at the edge of frame. A hand wearing Marcus's watch, the one Tasha had given him for their anniversary. While she'd been on IV fluids, terrified of losing their baby, he'd been celebrating with Jennifer. The cruelty of it was breathtaking. A soft knock interrupted her spiral. Vivian stood in the doorway looking older than her 62 years. "Can't sleep either?" her mother asked, settling beside her on the couch. "I keep thinking about all the signs I missed. The late nights, the new cologne, the way he'd guard his phone. I was so stupid." "You were trusting. There's a difference." "Is there?" "Because it feels like the same thing right now." Vivian was quiet for a moment, then, "Your father cheated on me once." Tasha's head snapped up. "What? When?" "You were 2. Your brother was still in diapers. Your father was working construction, long hours, good money. There was a woman at the office where he'd pick up his checks. Pretty little thing, 23 to my 30. Mama, I had no idea. Because we worked through it. He came clean, cried like a baby, begged forgiveness. Went to counseling, individual and couples. Spent the next 20 years proving he'd learned his lesson." Vivian's voice was steady, matter of fact. "The difference is your father was horrified by what he'd done. Marcus, he's proud of it. That's how you know there's no saving this." "Did you ever really trust Daddy again?" "Eventually. But it took years. And you know what? If he'd thrown me out instead of confessing, if he'd chosen her instead of fighting for us, I'd have taken him for everything and never looked back." They sat in comfortable silence, the city humming beyond the windows. Tasha felt the baby shift, a rolling movement that made her whole belly ripple. "She's active tonight," Vivian observed, placing a gentle hand on Tasha's stomach. "She always is when I'm stressed. It's like she knows." "She probably does. Babies feel everything their mamas feel." Vivian smiled sadly. "This little girl is going to be so loved, Tasha. With or without Marcus, she's going to be surrounded by love." The next morning came too soon. Tasha woke to the sound of her phone ringing incessantly. Jerome's name flashed on the screen. "Good morning to you too," she mumbled, still groggy. "Check your email. Now." She did, finding a forward from Jerome. Marcus's attorney had filed their response to the divorce petition. As she read, her grogginess evaporated, replaced by white-hot rage. Marcus was claiming abandonment, saying Tasha had left voluntarily, taking only what she wanted. He was seeking minimal child support, arguing that her choice to leave demonstrated financial independence. Worse, he was questioning whether the child was even his, demanding a paternity test. "He's saying the baby might not be his." Tasha's voice shook. "He was there when she was conceived. We were trying for months." "It's a tactic," Jerome said calmly. "A nasty one, but common. He's trying to delay, to hurt you, to make you settle for less. But here's the thing, we have witnesses who saw him throw you out. We have the movers he hired. We have text messages. His own mother will testify if needed." "This is going to get ugly, isn't it?" "Oh, honey, it already is. But we're going to win, trust me." After the call, Tasha sat in Brianna's tiny bathroom staring at her reflection. She looked different somehow, harder maybe, or just less naive. The woman who'd made Marcus tea yesterday morning, who'd believed they were building a life together, felt like a stranger. Her phone buzzed. A text from a number she didn't recognize. "Hi Tasha, this is Ashley from your book club. I just wanted you to know we're all thinking of you. Marcus is trash and Jennifer is worse. If you need anything at all, please reach out." Then another, "Tasha, it's David from the neighborhood association. Heard what happened. My wife and I are disgusted. You always have friends here. And another, girl, this is Keisha. Just saw Marcus at Starbucks with that homewrecker. I accidentally spilled my entire venti cold brew on her designer bag. Oops. Despite everything, Tasha found herself laughing. The community she'd thought she'd lost was rallying around her, choosing sides, and it wasn't Marcus's side they were choosing. Brianna poked her head in. You okay? Also, there's someone here to see you. In the living room stood a woman Tasha didn't recognize, elderly, well-dressed, with sharp eyes and a leather folder. Mrs. Wilson, I'm Eleanor Patterson from the Neighborhood Association. I'm also a retired family court judge. Oh, hello. Eleanor's expression was stern but not unkind. I saw what happened yesterday. The whole neighborhood did. I'm here to tell you that what your husband did violates several HOA regulations and possibly state laws. I'm prepared to provide a witness statement. You'd do that? You don't even know me. I know enough. I know you volunteer for the neighborhood cleanup every month. I know you organized the fundraiser for the Hendersons when Mr. Henderson had his stroke. I know you always wave when you walk past, even when you're clearly exhausted. Eleanor's voice softened. And I know what it's like to be discarded by a man who thinks he's trading up. It happened to me 40 years ago. What did you do? Eleanor smiled, and it was sharp as a blade. I became a judge and spent the next 30 years making sure men like that faced consequences. Now let me tell you what I observed yesterday in detail, so your attorney has everything he needs. She stayed for an hour, meticulously documenting everything she'd witnessed. By the time she left, Tasha had 3 pages of notes and a powerful ally she hadn't expected. The day continued with a parade of unexpected support. The mailman dropped off a package baby clothes from Tasha's coworkers at her consulting firm, with a note saying her job would be waiting whenever she was ready. The woman who ran the yoga studio Tasha attended offered free classes for the remainder of her pregnancy. Even the security guard from Marcus's building called to say he'd seen Jennifer coming and going for months and was willing to testify about the timeline of the affair. You see, Brianna said, as they sorted through the offerings, Team Tasha is strong. Team Marcus is just him and that wannabe trophy wife. That afternoon, they went to the bank to set up Tasha's new accounts. The banker, a young woman named Priya, was professionally cheerful until she pulled up Tasha's information. Oh, she said, her eyes widening. You're that Tasha Wilson. My husband works at your husband's company. Tasha's stomach dropped. I see. No, it's not bad. It's just everyone's talking about it. About what he did. The men are all acting like Marcus is some kind of hero living his best life or whatever. But the women, we're furious. Jennifer better not show her face at the company picnic. There's going to be a company picnic next month. And trust me, she won't be welcome. The wives have already decided. Priya leaned in conspiratorially. Also, just so you know, Jennifer's been bragging about moving into your house, redecorating everything. She told everyone at last week's happy hour that she's planning to turn the nursery into a home gym. The nursery. The room Marcus had painted yellow just 2 weeks ago, where Tasha had already hung the mobile her mother made where the crib was half assembled. A home gym, Tasha repeated flatly. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said anything. No, I'm glad you did. It's good to know. Good to know that Jennifer was erasing, her completely removing every trace of the life Tasha had built. Good to know that Marcus was allowing it, enabling it, probably encouraging it. When they got back to the apartment, there was a certified letter waiting. Tasha's hands shook as she opened it, expecting more legal cruelty from Marcus. Instead, it was from her grandfather's estate confirmation that the initial disbursement would be deposited Thursday morning. $2 million. More money than she'd ever imagined having. "Thursday's tomorrow," Brianna pointed out. "Tomorrow you become a millionaire." "It doesn't feel real." "It will when you're shopping for your own house." "Speaking of which," Brianna pulled out her laptop. "I've been looking at rentals. There's some nice places available fully furnished month to month, so you're not locked in." They spent the evening browsing listings, Vivian offering commentary on each one. Too small, too far from good schools, too close to Marcus's office. Finally, they found it, a 3-bedroom house in Virginia Highland, charming and warm, with a yard perfect for a swing set. "The rent's pretty steep," Brianna warned. "I can afford it." Tasha said the words, feeling foreign in her mouth. "I can afford it easily." She sent an email to the listing agent requesting a viewing for the next day. Within minutes, she had a response. The owner was going through his own divorce and was eager for a stable tenant. He could show her the place at noon. That night, as Tasha lay on Brianna's couch, for what she hoped would be the last time she thought about the trajectory of her life. 3 days ago, she'd been a married woman in a house she thought was her home. 2 days ago, she'd been homeless and humiliated. Tomorrow, she'd be a millionaire shopping for a rental that cost more per month than she used to make. Life came at you fast sometimes. Her phone lit up with one final text of the day. "Marcus. My attorney says you're being unreasonable. Just sign the papers I sent. Take the offer. It's more than fair. Don't make this harder than it needs to be." She almost laughed. Harder than it needed to be. He'd thrown her out while pregnant, moved his mistress in the same day, and was now questioning the paternity of the child they'd planned together. "How much harder could it get?" she typed back. "See you in court." Then she blocked his number. Not for everything. Jerome said she needed to maintain one line of communication for emergencies, but for regular texts. If he wanted to reach her, he could go through lawyers like he'd demanded. The baby kicked a strong thump right under her ribs. "I know, sweet girl," Tasha whispered. "Daddy's being difficult. But you know what? We don't need him. We're going to be just fine on our own." And for the first time since Marcus had spoken those devastating words in their kitchen, Tasha actually believed it. She was going to be fine. Better than fine. She was going to be extraordinary. Without him. Thursday morning arrived with a notification that changed everything. Tasha stared at her phone screen, the banking app showing a balance that seemed impossible to dial. The extra $47,000 was apparently interest accumulated since her grandfather's death. She refreshed the app 3 times, certain it was a glitch, but the number remained steady, real, overwhelming. "Is it there?" Brianna asked from the kitchen where she was making breakfast, despite Tasha's protests that she could feed herself. "It's there." The words came out as a whisper. Vivian looked up from her coffee, studying her daughter's face. "How does it feel?" "Terrifying," Tasha admitted. "Like I'm going to wake up and it'll all be gone." "Money doesn't fix everything," her mother said carefully, "but Lord knows it helps, especially when you're raising a baby alone." The word alone still stung, even though Tasha knew she was anything but. Still, there was something about the finality of it, the acceptance that Marcus really wasn't coming back, that made her chest tight. At noon, she stood outside the rental house in Virginia Highland, falling in love at first sight. It was nothing like the modern colonial she'd shared with Marcus. This was all character and charm, a 1920s bungalow with original hardwood floors that creaked in all the right places, built-in bookshelves that begged to be filled, and a kitchen with windows that overlooked a backyard where an old oak tree held court. The owner, James, was waiting on the porch. He was older, maybe 60, with kind eyes that held their own pain. "You're Tasha, come in, please. I heard you need a place quickly." My situation is complicated, she began, but he held up a hand. Mine too. Wife of 30 years decided she preferred her tennis instructor. Young enough to be our son. He laughed, but it was hollow. I'm living in the carriage house out back now. Can't stand to be in the main house with all the memories. They walked through rooms filled with sunshine and possibility. The master bedroom had a window seat perfect for late-night feedings. The second bedroom cried out to be a nursery. The third could be her office for when she returned to consulting. The rent is negotiable, James said as they stood in the living room. I care more about having someone who'll appreciate the place. My wife wanted to gut it, make it all modern and sterile. Like our marriage, I suppose. It's perfect exactly as it is, Tasha said, meaning it. When could I move in? Today if you need. Furniture comes with it if you want. My grandmother's pieces mostly. Too good for storage, too painful to look at. Today would be wonderful. They signed papers right there at the kitchen table, a simple month-to-month lease that either could terminate with 30 days' notice. James's hands shook slightly as he handed over the keys. Strange, isn't it? He said. How quickly life changes. Last month I was planning our anniversary cruise. Today I'm renting out my family home to a stranger. Not a stranger, Tasha said gently. Someone who understands. That afternoon, with Brianna and Tommy's help, she moved her belongings from storage into her new home. Each box unpacked felt like reclaiming a piece of herself. Her books on their new shelves. Her grandmother's quilt on the bed. The baby clothes in the nursery dresser waiting. She was hanging the mobile in the nursery when her phone rang. Jerome's name appeared on the screen. You sitting down? He asked without preamble. Should I be? Marcus's attorney just sent over their financial disclosure. Your husband has been very busy. 3 credit cards you didn't know about maxed out. A loan against his 401k. And here's the kicker, he's been paying for Jennifer's apartment for the last 4 months. Tasha sank into the rocking chair James had left behind. He's been paying for her apartment. $8,000 so far, while you were cutting back on expenses for the baby he was financing his girlfriend's lifestyle. Can we use this? Oh, we're going to destroy him with this. Marital funds used for an affair that's dissipation of assets. He'll have to pay it back to the marital estate. I don't understand. If he's in debt, why throw me out? Why not try to work things out? Because he doesn't know about your inheritance. He thinks he's the one with the power. Men like Marcus, they discard wives when they think they've found something better. He probably figured you'd be desperate, sign whatever he offered. After Jerome hung up, Tasha sat in the peaceful nursery processing this new information. Marcus was drowning financially, while she sat on millions. The irony was sharp enough to cut. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. When she opened it, her blood turned to ice. It was a photo of her new house taken from across the street. The message read, "Nice place, upgrade from Brianna's couch." Jennifer. It had to be. Another text followed, "We should talk, woman to woman." Tasha's hands shook as she typed back, "We have nothing to discuss." I disagree. Meet me at Cafe Intermezzo in an hour, or I'll come to you. The threat was implicit, but clear. Tasha called Jerome immediately. Go, he said after she explained, but record everything. Georgia's a one-party consent state. Get her talking. Let her hang herself. An hour later, Tasha walked into the upscale cafe, her phone recording in her purse. Jennifer was already there, seated at a corner table, looking like she'd stepped out of a magazine. Designer dress, perfect makeup, an air of confidence that bordered on arrogance. "Tasha," she said warmly, as if they were old friends. "Thanks for coming. You look well considering." Considering what? That my husband threw me out for you. Jennifer's smile didn't waver. That's a bit dramatic, don't you think? Marcus says you left voluntarily? Is that the story he's telling interesting, since I have witnesses who saw him put my belongings on the lawn? Witnesses can be unreliable. Jennifer stirred her coffee with deliberate calm. Memory is such a fickle thing. What do you want, Jennifer? To help you. Despite what you think, I'm not your enemy. Marcus and I fell in love. It happens. Fighting it will only hurt everyone, especially your baby. Our baby Tasha wanted to scream. Instead, she kept her voice level. How exactly do you plan to help me? Jennifer pulled out a folder, slid it across the table. Marcus authorized me to make you an offer. Sign the divorce papers, agree to reasonable visitation, and he'll give you $50,000. Enough to get established. Tasha actually laughed. $50,000. He spent $8,000 on your apartment alone. Jennifer's composure cracked slightly. How did you never mind? The offer is generous considering you contributed little to the marriage financially. Is that what he told you? It's what the bank statements show. Your little consulting business barely broke even most months. My consulting business that I scaled back for our pregnancy. The one I put on hold because we agreed one parent should be flexible when the baby came. Choices have consequences. Jennifer's tone turned harder. Look, I'm trying to be nice here. Take the money. Move on. Find someone more suited to your lifestyle. My lifestyle? You know, modest, simple. Marcus needs someone who matches his ambition. Someone like you. Exactly. Jennifer leaned forward, her voice dropping. I'm good for him, Tasha. I push him, challenge him. We're already talking about starting our own consulting firm. He'll be making 3 times what he makes now within 2 years. With what capital he's broke. Jennifer's smile turned predatory. He won't be after the divorce. Georgia's an equitable distribution state, right? Half of everything that house has $300,000 in equity. His 401k another $200,000. Plus you'll be paying him alimony since you're choosing not to work. The delusion was breathtaking. Jennifer actually thought Tasha would be paying Marcus. You've got it all figured out, Tasha said carefully. I'm strategic. It's why I'm successful. Why Marcus chose me. Jennifer touched her flat stomach in a gesture that made Tasha's blood run cold. Why he's excited about our future family. You're pregnant. Not yet, but soon. Marcus wants a son. A do-over, he calls it. A do-over. Their daughter not even born yet, already dismissed as a mistake to be corrected. You should know, Tasha said quietly, that Marcus is lying to you. About everything. The finances, the marriage, probably about wanting children with you. Jealousy isn't attractive, Tasha. Neither is being the other woman. Jennifer's face flushed. I'm not the other woman anymore. I'm the only woman. For now. But women who marry their affair partners have a 90% divorce rate. Look it up. We're different. That's what they all say. That's what I said when Marcus proposed to me while he was still technically with his college girlfriend. Jennifer went very still. What? Oh, he didn't mention that. How we met at a conference while he was still with Sarah. How he pursued me for months before finally breaking up with her. How she showed up at our apartment crying, saying he'd promised her a ring. It was satisfying to watch Jennifer's confidence crumble, to see doubt creep into her eyes. You're lying. Call Sarah yourself. Sarah Matthews works at Deloitte now. I'm sure she'd love to tell you about how Marcus discarded her for someone more exciting. Tasha stood, leaving the $50,000 offer on the table. History repeats itself, Jennifer. When Marcus gets bored with you, and he will remember this conversation. She walked out, her heart pounding, but her head high. In the parking lot, she stopped the recording, sending it immediately to Jerome with shaking fingers. Her phone rang almost instantly. "Holy shit," Jerome said, foregoing professionalism. She just admitted to conspiracy, acknowledged the affair timeline, and made threats. This is gold. She also might be pregnant. Lord help that child if she is. But Tasha, this recording changes everything. We can prove malicious intent, deliberate destruction of marriage. The judge is going to crucify them. That evening, back in her new home, Tasha tried to settle her nerves with chamomile tea and baby name books. Hope was definite for the first name, but she wanted something strong for the middle. Something that would remind her daughter that she came from fighters. A knock at the door interrupted her thoughts. She looked through the peephole to find Patricia Wilson standing on her porch, holding a casserole dish, and looking like she'd aged 5 years in 3 days. "Patricia," Tasha said, opening the door. "How did you find me?" "Brianna, don't be mad at her," I begged. Patricia's eyes were red-rimmed, desperate. "May I come in, please?" Against her better judgment, Tasha let her in. Patricia looked around the homey space, her face crumpling. "This is lovely. More you than that cold house ever was." "What do you want, Patricia?" "To apologize. To beg your forgiveness. To see if there's any way to salvage something from this wreckage my son has created. Your son made his choice. My son is an idiot." Patricia set the casserole down with more force than necessary. "I didn't raise him to be this man. His father would be rolling in his grave. Yet, here we are." Patricia sank into a chair, suddenly looking every one of her 68 years. "I went to the house yesterday. That woman has already redecorated. Your beautiful yellow nursery is now a home gym. She's thrown out the rocking chair I gave you, the one I nursed Marcus in. I'm sorry that hurts you, but I cut him off." Patricia's voice was firm. "Completely. Changed my will, removed him from my life insurance, everything. Until he comes to his senses and makes this right, he's dead to me. He's not going to come to his senses. Then he stays dead to me. But Tasha, that baby you're carrying, that's my granddaughter. My only grandchild, probably since Marcus's sister can't have children. Please, please don't cut me out of her life because of what he's done." The pain in her voice was real raw. Tasha felt her resolve weakening. "If I let you be part of Hope's life, there are conditions. Anything. You don't share information about us with Marcus. Nothing about where we live, how we're doing, nothing. Done. You don't try to facilitate reconciliation or bring him around. I wouldn't dare. And if you ever make my daughter feel less than perfect because her parents aren't together, we're done. She'll know nothing but love from me. I swear it." They sat in silence for a moment, two women bound together by a child who hadn't even been born yet, divided by the man who should have been their common ground. "There's something else," Patricia said carefully. "Marcus doesn't know I know this, but I have a friend who works at his company. Jennifer's been telling people she's pregnant." Tasha's stomach dropped. "She told me she wasn't yet." "She's not. My friend says she's been drinking at office happy hours, taking shots when she thinks no one's looking. It's a manipulation." "Why would she lie about that?" "To keep Marcus locked in. She knows he's having second thoughts." "He is. He called me yesterday drunk. Said he might have made a mistake. That you weren't as desperate as he'd expected. That you seemed different. Different. Because she wasn't begging for scraps anymore." "What did you tell him?" "To go to hell." Patricia stood, smoothing her skirt. I should go, but Tasha, whatever you're not telling him, whatever card you're holding, play it. Destroy him. He deserves it. After Patricia left, Tasha sat in her quiet living room, processing everything. Jennifer's fake pregnancy, Marcus's doubts, Patricia's alliance. The game was shifting pieces, moving in ways Marcus hadn't anticipated. Her phone buzzed with an email from Robert Thornton. The subject line made her heart skip regarding additional assets. She opened it quickly, scanning the contents. Her grandfather had left more than money. There was a property in Hilton Head, a vacation home he'd bought in the 70s that was now worth over $2 million. A collection of rare medical texts valued at $300,000. Stock portfolios she hadn't known existed. The total inheritance was closer to $25 million than 18. She forwarded the email to Jerome with a simple note. We need to talk about keeping this separate from marital assets. His response was immediate. On it. Also, Marcus's attorney called. They want to meet Monday. Seems Jennifer's little coffee date didn't go as planned. Monday. 4 days to prepare for whatever desperate move Marcus would make next. 4 days to decide how much mercy to show the man who'd shown her none. The baby kicked hard enough to make her gasp. Hope was getting stronger, more active. Soon she'd be here, entering a world that was messier and more complicated than the one Tasha had planned for her. But also a world where her mother had resources, had strength, had survived the worst betrayal, and come out richer literally and figuratively on the other side. Tasha pulled out her laptop, opening a new document. If Marcus wanted war, she'd give him one. But first, she'd make sure everything was protected, locked away, where neither he nor Jennifer could touch it. She began typing listing assets, planning strategies, building walls around the fortune that would secure her daughter's future. Outside Atlanta hummed with its usual energy, unaware that in a quiet bungalow in Virginia Highland, a discarded wife was preparing to become her ex-husband's worst nightmare. The irony wasn't lost on her. Marcus had thrown her out thinking she was worthless, a burden to be shed. He had no idea he'd freed a woman worth $25 million. And by the time he found out, it would be far too late. The phone rang again, Brianna checking in as she did every evening. How you holding up? Her friend asked. I'm good. Better than good, actually. Yeah, you sound different. I am different. Tasha looked around her new home, felt her daughter move, thought about the millions sitting in her account. Marcus did me a favor, Bri. He showed me exactly who he is, and more importantly, he showed me who I am. And who's that? Tasha smiled, her first real smile in days. Someone he's going to regret underestimating. Monday morning arrived with the kind of crisp October air that made Atlanta feel almost peaceful, but Tasha's nerves were anything but calm. She stood before her bedroom mirror, adjusting the navy dress that had once been her favorite for client meetings. It still fit, barely the fabric stretching across her 7-month belly in a way that made her pregnancy impossible to ignore. Good. Let Marcus see what he'd abandoned. Jerome had called the night before with final instructions. Don't reveal the inheritance yet, he'd warned. Let them show their hand first. And whatever you do, don't let him bait you into an emotional response. Easier said than done when the man who'd promised to love her forever was now strategizing her destruction with his 28-year-old mistress. The mediation was scheduled for 10 o'clock at Jerome's office. Tasha arrived 30 minutes early, needing time to compose herself. She found Jerome already there, spreading documents across the conference table like a general preparing for battle. You ready for this? He asked, looking up from the papers. As ready as anyone can be to face their lying, cheating ex-husband and his delusional girlfriend. That's my girl. Remember, Jennifer won't be in the room, but she'll be nearby. Marcus's attorney, Richard Stockton, is old school. He won't appreciate the theatrics if she tries to interfere. You know him. 20 years of facing off in court. He's good, but predictable. Always goes for the jugular when he thinks his client has the upper hand. Jerome smiled coldly. He has no idea what we're holding. At precisely 10 o'clock, Marcus walked in with his attorney. Tasha's breath caught despite herself. He looked terrible, thin, haggard, with dark circles under his eyes that suggested sleepless nights. His suit, usually impeccable, was slightly wrinkled. The confident man who'd thrown her out just a week ago seemed to have aged years. His eyes found hers immediately, then dropped to her belly. Something flickered across his face, regret, pain. It was gone before she could identify it. "Let's get started," Richard Stockton said brusquely, not bothering with pleasantries. He was exactly what Tasha had expected, silver-haired, severe, with the kind of presence that probably intimidated most people. "My client is prepared to be generous given the circumstances." The circumstances being that he threw out his pregnant wife for his mistress. Jerome's tone was conversational, almost friendly. The circumstances being that Mrs. Wilson voluntarily vacated the marital home and has refused reasonable attempts at settlement, Stockton replied smoothly. "I have 17 witnesses who saw your client's movers putting her belongings on the lawn," Jerome countered. "Would you like their names alphabetically or by proximity to the incident?" Marcus shifted in his seat. "This is ridiculous. Tasha, can't we just talk like adults?" "We're talking through counsel as you requested," Tasha replied, proud of how steady her voice sounded. "Remember, you said not to contact you except through lawyers. I was upset." "You were upset." The words escaped before she could stop them. "You moved your girlfriend into our house the same day you threw me out, and you were upset." Stockton cleared his throat. "Let's focus on the settlement. My client is offering $60,000 to be paid in installments over 2 years. In exchange, Mrs. Wilson waives any claim to the marital home and agrees to reasonable child support." Jerome actually laughed. $60,000. For a 6-year marriage where my client contributed equally until she scaled back for their planned pregnancy, that's insulting. "Mrs. Wilson's consulting business showed minimal profit," Stockton said, sliding a paper across the table. "Her contribution to the household was negligible." "Negligible?" Tasha felt her control slipping. "I paid for our honeymoon. I covered the down payment when his credit wasn't enough. I furnished that entire house." "Tasha, please," Marcus interrupted. "Let's not make this harder than necessary." "Harder than necessary?" "You questioned whether the baby is yours, Marcus. You actually suggested I cheated on you." His face flushed. "That was Jennifer thought." "Jennifer thought?" Tasha stared at him. "Jennifer thought what exactly?" "That the baby we planned for 6 months, the baby conceived in our marriage bed, might belong to someone else based on what evidence?" She pointed out some inconsistencies. She pointed out that if the baby isn't yours, you don't have to pay child support. "That's not inconsistency, Marcus. That's manipulation." "You don't know her," Marcus said defensively. "I know she's lying about being pregnant." The room went silent. Marcus's face drained of color. "What?" he whispered. "Your girlfriend has been telling people at your office she's pregnant. She's not. Ask anyone who's seen her drinking at happy hours. Ask the bartender at establishment who served her 3 martinis last Thursday. You're lying. Your mother can confirm it. She has a friend at your company." Tasha leaned forward slightly. "You're being played, Marcus. But that's between you and her." Stockton recovered first. "These allegations are irrelevant to the divorce settlement." "They're entirely relevant," Jerome interrupted. "They speak to motivation. Ms. Parker has been actively working to destroy my client's marriage for financial gain. We have evidence of conspiracy of deliberate interference. What evidence? Stockton demanded. Jerome pulled out his phone, placed it on the table. Shall I play the recording of Ms. Parker attempting to bribe my client? The one where she admits to the affair timeline and discusses her plans to access marital assets. Marcus turned to his attorney. What recording? The one from our coffee meeting, Tasha said quietly. Where she offered me $50,000 to disappear quietly. Where she talked about your do-over, baby. Where she revealed you've been paying for her apartment with marital funds. She wouldn't. Marcus stood abruptly. I need to talk to her. Sit down, Mr. Wilson, Stockton commanded. We're in the middle of mediation. But Marcus was already at the door. Through the glass walls of the conference room, Tasha could see Jennifer in the waiting area, perfectly styled as always, scrolling through her phone. Marcus stormed out, and their argument erupted immediately, Jennifer's voice rising to audible levels even through the closed door. You recorded me, you manipulative bitch? Mr. Stockton, Jerome said calmly. Perhaps you should attend to your clients. The older attorney hurried out, leaving Tasha and Jerome alone. They watched the drama unfold in the waiting area, Marcus gesturing wildly, Jennifer crying perfectly choreographed tears, Stockton trying to restore order. This is better than reality TV, Jerome murmured. It's my life, Tasha reminded him. Not anymore. Now it's theirs. You're just watching the collapse. After 10 minutes, Stockton returned alone, his composure cracked. My client needs time to reassess the situation. Your client needs to reassess his entire life, Jerome shot back. But we're not waiting. Here's our counteroffer. He slid a document across the table. Full equity in the marital home, half of all retirement accounts, proper child support, based on Georgia guidelines, and reimbursement for marital funds used on Ms. Parker. Stockton reviewed the document, his face darkening. This is excessive. This is standard. Your client is welcome to refuse and go to trial. I'm sure the judge would love to hear how he threw out his pregnant wife for a woman who's faking a pregnancy to trap him. You don't know she's faking. Want to bet? We can subpoena her medical records today. Stockton gathered his papers. We need a continuance. You have 48 hours, Jerome said. After that, we file for emergency support and exclusive use of the marital home. Your client and his girlfriend can find somewhere else to play house. After Stockton left, Tasha slumped in her chair. The adrenaline was fading, leaving her exhausted. You did great, Jerome said. Marcus looked like he'd been hit by a truck. I don't feel great. I feel sad. For all of us. Even Jennifer. Don't waste sympathy on her. She knew exactly what she was doing. Did she, or is she just another woman who fell for Marcus's lies? Jerome studied her for a moment. You're a better person than most, Tasha, but don't let compassion make you weak. They wouldn't hesitate to destroy you. That evening, Tasha was settling into bed when her phone rang. Marcus's number appeared not blocked this time. We're not supposed to communicate directly, she answered. I know, I just... Tasha, is it true about Jennifer? Which part? The pregnancy. Ask her for a test. A blood test, not the store-bought kind. See what happens. Silence stretched between them. When Marcus spoke again, his voice was broken. I've ruined everything, haven't I? Yes. The baby, our baby, it's really mine. You know it is, Marcus. You were there. We tried for 6 months. You cried when we saw the heartbeat. I know. Jennifer was so convincing. She showed me all these articles about women who trap men with babies. I didn't trap you. We planned this pregnancy together. I know that too. God, Tasha, I don't know what happened. One minute she was just this exciting new person who made me feel young, and the next, stop. Tasha's voice was firm. Don't do this. Don't call me for absolution. You made choices, Marcus. Deliberate, cruel choices. Live with them. I want to see you. Can we meet just to talk? No. Please, I'm at the house. Like Jennifer's gone. I kicked her out. Please, Tasha, one conversation. Every instinct screamed no, but something in his voice, genuine desperation, made her hesitate. I'll think about it, she said finally, then hung up. She called Brianna immediately. Absolutely not, her friend said before Tasha even finished explaining. He's manipulating you. He sounded different, broken. Good, let him be broken. You were broken last week when he threw you out. What if he wants to reconcile? Then he's delusional. Tasha, you're worth $25 million. You have a beautiful home, a baby on the way, a whole life ahead of you. Why would you even consider taking back a man who discarded you for the first shiny thing that crossed his path? Brianna was right, of course. But lying in bed, feeling the baby move, Tasha couldn't help but wonder what might have been if Marcus had never met Jennifer. If he'd stayed faithful. If they'd welcomed their daughter together. The next morning brought new drama. Patricia called early, her voice tight with anger. That woman came to my house, she announced without preamble. Jennifer, at 6 a.m, crying, begging me to talk sense into Marcus, said he's throwing away their future over nothing. What did you tell her? To get off my property before I called the police. But Tasha, she's desperate. Be careful. Desperate how? She kept saying she'd invested too much to lose now. That she'd quit her job for Marcus, given up her apartment, changed everything. A desperate woman is dangerous. The warning proved prophetic. That afternoon, while Tasha was at a prenatal appointment, Jennifer appeared at the medical building. Tasha emerged from the elevator to find her waiting in the lobby, looking nothing like the polished woman from their coffee meeting. Her hair was disheveled, makeup, smeared designer dress, wrinkled. We need to talk, Jennifer said, blocking Tasha's path. We have nothing to discuss. Please move. You've poisoned him against me. Told lies. I told the truth. You're not pregnant, are you? Jennifer's face crumpled. I could be. We've been trying. For 4 months while he was still married to me. He was leaving you anyway. Was he, or did you convince him to leave? I didn't have to convince him of anything. He was miserable. You bored him, Tasha. Your whole little domestic fantasy bored him to death. The words stung, but Tasha kept her voice level. Yet here you are, begging me to help you get him back. I'm not begging. I'm warning. If you think you've won what my husband cheated on me, threw me out while pregnant, and chose you. You got exactly what you wanted. How's that working out? Jennifer stepped closer, her voice dropping to a hiss. You don't know who you're dealing with. I don't lose. Security, Tasha called to the guard at the desk. This woman is harassing me. The guard stood moving toward them. Jennifer backed away. This isn't over, she said, then fled. Tasha's hands shook as she called Jerome, relating the encounter. I'll file a restraining order, he said immediately. This is escalating. That evening, Tasha was cooking dinner when she heard a car in her driveway. Through the window, she saw Marcus's BMW. Her heart rate spiked, but when the driver's door opened, it was Patricia who emerged. I'm sorry to drop by unannounced, she said when Tasha let her in. But I had to warn you in person. Jennifer's been calling Marcus non-stop. Threats, promises, everything. She's also been reaching out to his colleagues, trying to damage his reputation. Why are you telling me this? Because she blames you. In her mind, If you hadn't exposed her lies, everything would be fine. Marcus is worried she might do something drastic. Like what? He didn't say. But he asked me to check on you, make sure you're being careful. He could check on me himself if he's so worried. Patricia hesitated. He's afraid to face you. Afraid of what you might say. Or not say. Good. He should be afraid. Tasha. Patricia sat down heavily. I know my son destroyed your marriage. I know he doesn't deserve forgiveness. But he's falling apart. He hasn't been to work in 3 days. He just sits in that house in the nursery Jennifer turned into a gym and cries. Am I supposed to feel sorry for him? No, I just thought you should know. You loved him once. Maybe knowing he's suffering brings some kind of closure. After Patricia left, Tasha sat in her quiet house processing everything. Marcus crying in what had been their nursery. Jennifer spiraling into desperate threats. The whole carefully constructed affair collapsing into chaos. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. When she opened it, her blood went cold. It was a photo of her ultrasound, the one from her doctor's office. Somehow Jennifer had gotten it. The message read, "Pretty baby. Would be a shame if something happened before she's born." Tasha called 911 immediately, then Jerome, then Brianna. Within an hour, her house was full of police officers taking statements, examining the threat. The detective, a woman named Garcia, took the threat seriously. "We'll pick her up tonight," she promised. "This crosses the line into criminal territory." But when they went to arrest Jennifer, she was gone. Her apartment was empty, her phone disconnected. She'd vanished, leaving Marcus to deal with the wreckage alone. The next morning, day 2 of the 48-hour deadline, Richard Stockton called Jerome. "My client accepts your terms," he said simply. "All of them. He wants this over." Just like that. Jerome sounded suspicious. "Ms. Parker has disappeared apparently after making threats against Mrs. Wilson. My client is reassessing his priorities. He'll sign whatever you want. We want a restraining order against Parker included in the settlement." Done. "And an increase in child support if his income increases." Fine. "And exclusive naming rights for the baby." There was a pause. "Mr. Wilson requests the middle name be after his late father." "Mrs. Wilson will consider it," Jerome replied. After the call, Jerome turned to Tasha. "You won. Complete victory." But sitting there, 7 months pregnant and soon to be divorced, Tasha didn't feel victorious. She felt hollow. That night, unable to sleep, she drove past the old house. The lights were on in every room, and through the window she could see Marcus sitting on the floor of what had been the nursery, surrounded by exercise equipment that Jennifer had installed. He was holding something, the ultrasound photo they'd gotten at 20 weeks, the one where the baby had been sucking her thumb. For a moment, just a moment, Tasha considered going in, considered forgiving him, considered trying to rebuild from the ashes. Then she felt the baby kick strong and insistent, and remembered the humiliation of standing on the lawn with her belongings. Remembered Jennifer in their bed. Remembered Marcus saying he wanted someone who excited him. She drove home to her bungalow, to her new life, to her future, without him. The divorce papers would be signed within the week. Marcus would pay support, see his daughter every other weekend once she was born. Jennifer would eventually resurface, probably with some other married man in her sights. Life would go on. But that night, Tasha sat in her nursery, her real nursery, with its soft yellows and greens, with the rocking chair Patricia had secretly saved from the old house, and sang to her unborn daughter. She sang about strength and resilience, about women who rebuild after storms, about love that doesn't depend on fathers who couldn't stay faithful. Your daddy loved us once, she whispered to her belly. In his broken way, he loved us. But sometimes love isn't enough. Sometimes people show you who they really are, and you have to believe them the first time. The baby settled as if understanding. Tomorrow would bring lawyers and papers and the official end of her marriage. But tonight, in the quiet of her own home with her daughter safe beneath her heart, and millions of dollars securing their future, Tasha finally understood what Patricia had said. She was free. The contractions started at 3 in the morning on a Tuesday in December, 5 weeks after the divorce had been finalized. Tasha woke to a sharp pain that took her breath away, followed by a warm gush that soaked through her pajamas. Her water had broken. She called Brianna first, her voice surprisingly calm. "It's time. I'm on my way. Don't move, don't panic, just breathe." Then she called her mother, who answered on the first ring, despite the hour. "Baby coming." "Yes. I'll be there in 3 hours. Don't you dare have that child without me." Tasha hesitated before making the third call. The custody agreement required her to notify Marcus when she went into labor. His voice was groggy when he answered. "Tasha, what's wrong?" "The baby's coming. I'm heading to Northside Hospital." Silence. "Then I'll be there." "Marcus, I have the right to be there. The agreement says—" "I know what it says. Just don't bring anyone." "There's no one to bring," he said quietly. "There hasn't been anyone since Jennifer." Brianna arrived within 15 minutes, finding Tasha dressed and ready, her hospital bag by the door. The contractions were 8 minutes apart now, each one forcing her to stop and breathe through the pain. "You look terrified," Brianna observed, helping her to the car. "I am terrified. I'm about to become a single mother." "No, you're about to become a mother. The single part is just logistics." The drive to the hospital was surreal, Atlanta sleeping peacefully, while Tasha's world shifted with each contraction. They arrived at emergency to find Marcus already there, pacing the entrance like a caged animal. He looked terrible, unshaven, wearing sweatpants and a wrinkled t-shirt she recognized from their early dating days. "You got here fast," Tasha said, gripping Brianna's arm through another contraction. "I was already awake." He admitted, then seemed to really see her, his eyes widening. "God, Tasha, you're in pain." "That's generally how labor works," Brianna said dryly. A wheelchair appeared, and soon Tasha was being admitted, answering questions between contractions that were growing stronger and closer together. Marcus hovered nearby, uncertain of his place. "Sir, are you the father?" the nurse asked. "Yes," Marcus said. At the same time, Tasha said, "He's my ex-husband." The nurse, an older black woman with kind eyes, took in the situation with one glance. "Well, whoever he is, he needs to wait outside while we get you settled." The labor room was private and peaceful, with soft lighting and a window overlooking the city. Tasha changed into a hospital gown, was examined 4 centimeters dilated, and hooked up to monitors that tracked the baby's heartbeat. The sound filled the room, strong and steady. "She sounds perfect," the nurse said. "You're progressing nicely. This little girl is eager to meet the world." Brianna held Tasha's hand through the next contraction, coaching her breathing. When it passed, she asked, "What about Marcus? What about him? He's out there looking like someone shot his dog. Do you want him here or not?" Tasha considered. Despite everything, he was Hope's father. "He can come in, but if he causes any stress, I'll personally throw him out," Brianna promised. Marcus entered tentatively, as if the room might explode. His eyes went immediately to the monitors, to the sound of his daughter's heartbeat. "That's her." His voice was barely a whisper. "That's her." Tasha confirmed, then gasped as another contraction hit. Without thinking, Marcus moved to her other side, taking her free hand. Breathe, Tash. Remember the classes. In through your nose, out through your mouth. You remember the classes, she panted. I remember everything. His voice broke slightly. Every appointment, every ultrasound, every time she kicked. I remember all of it. Vivian arrived as Tasha hit 6 centimeters, sweeping in like a force of nature. She took one look at Marcus holding Tasha's hand and raised an eyebrow. Mama, don't start, Tasha warned through gritted teeth. I didn't say anything. Vivian moved to her daughter's side, smoothing her hair back. How are you doing, baby? Everything hurts and I want to die. That means you're doing great. Death wishes start around 7 centimeters. The next 2 hours were a blur of pain and pressure contractions coming in waves that left Tasha exhausted between them. Marcus never let go of her hand even when she crushed his fingers during particularly bad contractions. He coached her breathing, fed her ice chips, and when she cried that she couldn't do it anymore, he leaned close and whispered, You're the strongest person I know. You can do anything. Patricia arrived around noon, hesitating at the door, but when she saw the scene, her son holding his ex-wife's hand, while she labored with the granddaughter he'd almost abandoned. I brought food for everyone, she said quietly, setting bags in the corner. And some baby clothes, pink ones. The ones I saved from when Marcus's sister was born. Thank you, Tasha managed between contractions. The afternoon wore on. 8 centimeters. 9. The pain was beyond description now, each contraction feeling like it would split her in half. The epidural helped, but didn't eliminate everything. Marcus had gone pale watching her suffer, and at one point she heard him whisper to Brianna, I did this to her. I left her to face this alone. You're here now, Brianna replied, surprising everyone with her generosity. That's what matters. At 4:17, the doctor announced it was time to push. The room transformed, nurses appearing with equipment, the bed adjusting, everyone taking positions. Marcus looked terrified. Do you want him to stay? The doctor asked Tasha. She looked at Marcus, really looked at him, saw the man she'd fallen in love with, the one who'd painted the nursery yellow, the one who'd cried at their wedding. But also saw the man who'd thrown her out, who'd chosen another woman, who'd questioned their child's paternity. He can stay, she said finally. He should see his daughter being born. The pushing was the hardest thing Tasha had ever done. 30 minutes of effort that felt like hours, Marcus supporting her shoulders, Vivian holding one leg, Brianna the other. Patricia stood by the window, praying quietly. I can see her head, the doctor announced. Lots of dark hair. One more big push, Tasha. She pushed with everything she had left, a scream tearing from her throat, and then suddenly the pressure was gone, and a cry filled the room. Not her cry, her daughter's. It's a girl! The doctor announced unnecessarily, placing the squirming, screaming infant on Tasha's chest. Hope Vivian Bennett was perfect. Tiny fists waving in protest, face scrunched in displeasure at being evicted from her warm home covered in vernix, but absolutely beautiful. Tasha sobbed, holding her daughter for the first time, feeling a love so intense it physically hurt. Hi, baby girl, she whispered. I'm your mama. I've been waiting for you. Marcus was crying openly, not even trying to hide it. She's perfect. God, Tasha, look what we made. What you made, Vivian corrected sharply. What Tasha made while you were playing house with your secretary. Mama, Tasha warned, but she was too exhausted and too happy to really care. The nurse took Hope to be weighed and measured 7 pounds, 2 ounces, 19 inches long, perfect APGAR scores. Marcus followed, watching every movement, taking photos with shaking hands. "Do you want to hold her?" the nurse asked him. He looked at Tasha for permission. Despite everything, she nodded. Marcus took his daughter with infinite care, and something in his face broke completely. "Hi, Hope. I'm your daddy. I'm so sorry, baby girl. I'm so sorry for everything. But I promise I'll do better. I'll be better. For you." Later, after everyone had held the baby, after photos had been taken and tears had been shed, the room finally quiet, except for Hope's occasional squeaks from her bassinet. Marcus remained in the chair beside Tasha's bed, unable to take his eyes off their daughter. "I destroyed everything," he said quietly. "The best thing in my life, and I threw it away for nothing." Tasha was too tired to be angry anymore. "It wasn't nothing to you at the time." "It was, though. Jennifer she was an illusion, a fantasy. She told me everything I wanted to hear, made me feel like I was 25 again. And I was so stupid, so incredibly stupid, that I fell for it." "Where is she now?" "Last I heard, she was in California. Moved in with some tech executive she met online. He's married too." Marcus laughed bitterly. "I wasn't special. I was just convenient, available, willing to destroy my life for her." "I'm sorry," Tasha said, surprising herself by meaning it. "Don't be sorry for me. I got exactly what I deserved." He reached out, letting Hope grip his finger. "I just hate that she's paying for my mistakes." "She's not paying for anything. She's loved, she's healthy, and she's going to have a good life." "Will she, growing up shuttling between houses, wondering why her parents aren't together? That's on you to explain when she's old enough." Marcus was quiet for a long moment. "The inheritance. Patricia told me about it. $25 million. Tasha stiffened. "That's none of your business." "I know, I'm not. I would never." He took a breath. "I just wanted to say I'm glad. You'll never have to worry about providing for her. You can give her everything. Money doesn't give her everything. It doesn't give her an intact family. No, I took that from her." He stood carefully, placing Hope back in her bassinet. "I should go, let you rest." "Marcus?" He stopped at the door. "You can see her whenever you want. Outside the official schedule. She needs her father even if he's an idiot. I don't deserve that kindness. It's not for you, it's for her." After he left, Brianna emerged from the corner where she'd been quietly observing. "That was more generous than I would have been." "He looked broken," Tasha said, watching Hope sleep. "Completely broken." "Good. He should be broken. He broke you first." "I'm not broken anymore, though. Look at her, Bri. Look at what I made." "You made a miracle," Brianna agreed. Then her tone turned serious. "But don't let him worm his way back in Tasha. He made his choice." The next days passed in a blur of firsts. First feeding, first diaper change, first night home. Tasha's house filled with visitors' gifts and more food than they could ever eat. The neighborhood women descended like a benevolent army, organizing meal trains and offering advice. Eleanor Patterson, the retired judge, brought an enormous teddy bear and a warning. "That ex-husband of yours has been moping around the old house, sitting on the porch looking pathetic. Don't fall for it." But Tasha was too busy falling in love with her daughter to worry about Marcus's emotional state. Hope was a good baby, only crying when hungry or wet, content to be held and sung to. She had Marcus's eyes, but Tasha's nose, a perfect blend of both parents. One week after Hope's birth, Tasha was nursing her daughter when her phone rang. Robert Thornton's name appeared on the screen. "I hope I'm not calling at a bad time," he said when she answered. Just feeding the baby. What can I do for you? I wanted to inform you that the full inheritance is now available. The conditions for early release have been met. You've demonstrated exceptional judgment in protecting the assets during your divorce. $25 million is now at your complete disposal. Tasha looked down at Hope, who had fallen asleep at her breast milk drunk and perfect. $25 million. Enough to ensure her daughter would never want for anything. Enough to build something meaningful. Mr. Thornton, can trusts be used to establish foundations? Certainly. What did you have in mind? I want to create something for women like me. Women who've been abandoned while pregnant, who need support starting over. Housing assistance, legal aid, childcare. A complete support system. That's a beautiful idea. I can recommend some excellent non-profit attorneys to help set it up. Include men, too, Tasha added, thinking of Marcus's broken face. Men who've lost their families because of their choices and want to be better fathers. Counseling, supervised visitation support, parenting classes. Very generous considering your circumstances. My grandfather was generous. I want to honor that. After the call, Tasha settled Hope in her bassinet and went to her laptop. She began writing, outlining her vision for the Bennett Foundation. It would be housed in the Hilton Head property, a retreat center where families in crisis could heal. The medical texts would be sold to fund scholarships for single parents pursuing education. She was deep in planning when the doorbell rang. Through the peephole, she saw Marcus holding a small gift bag, looking uncertain. "I'm sorry to drop by," he said when she opened the door. "I brought something for Hope." Inside the bag was a tiny gold bracelet with a charm, a small hope symbol. "It was my grandmother's," Marcus explained. "My mother saved it for my first daughter. I know I have no right to family traditions anymore, but—" "It's beautiful," Tasha interrupted. "She'll love it when she's older." "Can I see her?" Just for a minute, Hope was awake, staring at the mobile above her bassinet with unfocused eyes. Marcus knelt beside her, his face soft with wonder. "She's changed already. In just a week." "They do that. The pediatrician says she's gaining weight perfectly." "You're doing an amazing job, Tasha. She's lucky to have you." "She has you too." Marcus looked up at her eyes, full of something she couldn't quite read. "I want to be better. For her. I've started therapy. Individual and group for men who've destroyed their families through infidelity." "That's good." "The therapist says I have narcissistic tendencies, that I seek external validation to fill an internal void, that Jennifer was a symptom, not the cause." He stood slowly. "I'm not telling you this to gain sympathy. I just want you to know I'm working on myself, to be a better father even if I couldn't be a good husband." "I appreciate that." He moved toward the door, then stopped. "The offer Jennifer made you, the $50,000 to disappear, that was my idea. I'm ashamed to admit it, but I thought if you were gone I could start fresh, build a new perfect life without the complications of an ex-wife and baby. And now I know there's no such thing as a perfect life. Just the life you build with the choices you make. And I made terrible choices." After he left, Tasha stood in her doorway, watching his car disappear. 6 months ago, she would have done anything to hear him acknowledge his mistakes. Now it just felt sad, necessary, but sad. That evening, while Hope slept, Tasha called Patricia. "How is he really doing?" she asked. Patricia sighed. "Terribly. He's in that house alone, hasn't changed anything since Jennifer vandalized it. Still sleeps on the couch because he can't bear to be in the bedroom. His work is suffering. He might lose his job. Part of me thinks that's justice. Part of me agrees," Patricia admitted. "But that little girl needs a functional father, not a destroyed shell of one." What do you want me to do? Forgive him, take him back. God, no. You're worth $25 million and have your whole life ahead of you. But maybe there's a middle ground between vengeance and reconciliation. Tasha thought about the foundation she was planning, about second chances and redemption. Maybe. 2 weeks later, she had her 6-week postpartum checkup. Dr. Martinez declared her healing beautifully and cleared her for all activities. As she was leaving, she ran into a familiar face in the waiting room. Eliza Carter, the young woman from Marcus's company, the one Jennifer had mentored before setting her sights on Marcus. Tasha, oh my God, did you have the baby? 2 weeks ago. A girl, Hope. Eliza's face lit up, then fell. I'm so happy for you, and so sorry about everything else. You knew about the affair. Everyone knew. Jennifer wasn't subtle. She actually tried to get me to seduce one of the other married executives. Said it was the fastest way to advance. Eliza shuddered. I quit the next day. What are you doing now? Looking for work. Trying to figure out my life. She placed a hand on her own stomach, and Tasha noticed the slight bump for the first time. It's complicated. The father doesn't know, doesn't need to know. He made his choice clear when he said pregnancy would ruin my career. Eliza's eyes filled with tears. I'm 23, unemployed and pregnant. I have no idea what I'm doing. Tasha made a decision. Do you have plans right now? Come have coffee with me. They spent 2 hours in a nearby cafe, Eliza pouring out her story, a brief relationship with a superior who'd promised to leave his wife the pregnancy that changed everything, the abandonment that followed. It was depressingly familiar. I want to help, Tasha said finally. I'm starting a foundation for women in situations like ours. I need someone to help run it. Someone who understands what we've been through. Are you offering me a job? I'm offering you a chance to help other women avoid our mistakes, or at least survive them. Eliza started crying in earnest. Why would you do this for me? Oh, you don't even know me. Because someone should have done it for us. That night, Tasha drafted the first official proposal for the Bennett Foundation. The mission statement was simple: providing comprehensive support for families in crisis due to abandonment, infidelity, or relationship breakdown, with special focus on pregnant women and new mothers. She was reviewing the document when Marcus texted, Hope's 2-week photos from the hospital are ready. Can I send them to you? Instead of responding via text, she called him. Thank you for letting me know. You can email them. Tasha. His voice was hesitant. I heard from a colleague that you're starting some kind of foundation. News traveled fast in Atlanta. It's in the planning stages. For women who've been through what you have, for families in crisis, including fathers who want to repair relationships with their children. Silence. Then, could someone like me qualify for help? Someone exactly like you is who I had in mind for the fatherhood program. Counseling, supervised visitation support, parenting classes. Everything needed to become a better father. Why? His voice was thick with emotion. Why would you help me after everything? I'm not helping you, I'm helping Hope. She deserves a father who's done the work to be worthy of her. I want to be worthy. I want it more than anything. Then do the work. Real work, not just words. I will. I am, I promise. After they hung up, Tasha checked on Hope, who was sleeping peacefully in her bassinet. Her daughter's face was changing already, becoming more defined, more her own person. Soon she'd be smiling, then crawling, then walking. Time would pass whether Marcus healed himself or not. But maybe, just maybe, with the right support and genuine effort, He could become the father Hope deserved. Not the husband Tasha had lost, that ship had sailed and sunk spectacularly. But perhaps something new could be built from the wreckage. Not reconciliation, but cooperation. Not love, but respect. The foundation would help women like her and Eliza, yes. But it would also help men like Marcus find their way back from the destruction they'd caused. Because in the end, the children were what mattered. Hope and all the other innocent babies who didn't ask to be born into broken situations. Tasha looked at the bracelet Marcus had brought, the tiny Hope charm catching the light. Hope. It was what she'd named her daughter, what she was building with her grandfather's fortune, what she was offering to others who'd lost their way. Even Marcus, the man who'd shattered her world, could have hope for redemption. Not with her, never with her, but with their daughter. And maybe that was enough.